Welcome back to From the Burbs to the Tetons. This is part 3 in a series where we're talking about the design of the guest house. If you see anything I might have missed, please comment down below. I'm really trying to get this right the first time. So let's go ahead and move on to the foundation. So the footer is going to be 2 feet wide and 10 inches high. It's got to be at least 32 inches deep by code. Right now it's going to be 36 inches. I can't remember if I asked the architect to do that so it would account for the ICF heights and keeping them at normal prescribed heights so you don't have any weird stuff going on with the ICFs. But one of the brands actually has 18-inch high ICFs instead of 16-inch high ICFs. So depending on which brand I go with, it'll either be 2 or 2.5 rounds of ICF. So one of the things I'm worried about is micro cracks. My engineer told me that to stop worrying about micro cracks where I can't see them because they really don't affect the durability or the longevity of the wall. Basically, for the footer and the ICFs, I'm just going to be using rebarb. Now the ICFs help with micro cracking already. That's one of the pluses with it. But when it comes to the slab, what I had thought about doing is putting in the heavy-duty rebarb, number 4 at the bottom, and then put the PEX piping for the in-floor heating on that, and then what they call remesh rebarb. You can get it in sheets or rolls. It almost looks like fencing on top of that. And then to also add an additive of structural fibers to the concrete mix. My engineer had told me about something called Helix Micro Rebarb. This would replace all the rebarb that I would have to put in and also the fiber additive. I still plan on using the remesh rebarb because I need something to tie the PEX to. I guess an alternative could be is that I could use insulation, foam insulation that has patterns in it for putting in the PEX piping and holding it. I plan on putting in a 5-inch slab instead of a 4-inch slab, so that heat's going to have a long way to go. Even if it was a 4-inch slab, that's a long way to go for the heat. I'd rather have it 2 inches from the top of the slab instead of 4 inches from the top of the slab, or in my case 5 inches. Let's talk about the stem walls. Now the stem walls have to be at least 8 inches above grade. And what I'm thinking is I really want them probably 10.5 inches above grade. I don't want them any higher than that because what I'm worried about is once you put the sill plate on and then once you do the bottom plate and then on top of that you may even want to put additional bracing. You could have 3 layers of wood there, and that's probably going to be about 4.5 inches. The bottom of an electrical box is going to be at about 14.5 inches. So if I take the 4.5 inches from the 14.5, that's going to be about 10 inches for the sweet spot for the height of the stem wall. I'll work with the architect to get the footer at the right height to account for either 2.5 or 2 courses of ICFs. Now that we've got the structural stuff out of the way, let's talk about aesthetics. Right now I'm leaning toward using epoxy with flakes. I guess the best way to describe it, it's going to be granite-like. I don't want it to look like granite. I want it to look like cement, but I want it to have a little color in it, texture in it, so it doesn't look plain Jane. I might color it, but I'm leaning toward the epoxy right now. Now that we've covered the foundation, let's move on to the first floor. The first floor is basically made up of 2 large garages and then the center section. Even though it says garages in the blueprints, it's going to be a workshop. The reason why I've labeled it a garage is the county recognizes that as a specific kind of space with specific connotations. The orientation of the building on the screen, the bottom is the front of the building and also faces the Teton Mountain Range. To the right would be where the street is. Let's go ahead and start on the right garage. The garages are pretty wide, 15 feet basically. And I did that so there'd be plenty of room for storage and also mechanical stuff. As I zoom in on the front bay, you'll notice on the outside wall is where the meter is for the electricity. On the inside left wall is where there's 2 electrical panels. There is a 3rd electrical panel in the left garage in the front bay. Each electrical box will handle 200 amps, which will take up the total 600 amps available from the transformer. The first electrical box, it's going to handle the guest house upstairs, the bathroom downstairs, and all the mechanicals. That would include the water pump, the hot water heater, the boiler for the in-floor heating, the heat pump, and the mini split in the guest house. I'm putting all those into one box so that I can actually put that whole box on a backup battery system. The other electrical box in that garage will be used to power half of the workshop, that whole garage bay, and also anything outdoors like the greenhouses. The last electrical panel, it's going to power half of the workshop and that other garage. In addition, I'm going to have two 30 amp plugs available for RVs. There are two greenhouses, and I'm going to need some electrical stuff over for the fire pond. I'm sure there'll be other stuff like a sprinkler system, possibly an outdoor patio, those kind of things that will also be used for those two electrical boxes that are split between the first floor. Now if we go ahead and move to the rear bay on the right garage, that's going to be where the water comes in, as well as the hot water heater and the boiler for the in-floor heating. The heat pump is located outside near the bathroom. If you notice, none of the utilities are on an outside wall. I did that on purpose because I don't want to take away from the insulation in the outside walls. If I were to put the electrical boxes there, there would be, a 4 by 4 foot area without any insulation. There is a bathroom in the workshop. The reason I put a bathroom there is twofold. One, until we build the main house, that'll end up being kind of like the mud room. If I'm a mess and sloppy and gross, I'll come into the workshop, strip down, hop in the shower, get clean, put on some clean clothes, and then go upstairs. Later on, when the main house is built, if I'm over there, in the middle of February and it's, 5 degrees out, wind blowing 20 miles an hour, the last thing I want to do is walk 100 feet across the weather and everything to go to the bathroom, then come back to the workshop. Let's take a look at the garage now. I've been kind of hiding the design from you guys just because I think it would have been distracting. This is by no means the final design. It's just something I kind of threw together where I'm kind of tinkering with it. I actually want to do a whole series on getting feedback from you guys so that you can help me design it. I'm going to go ahead and leave it there. Please put your comments and questions down below. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. I would love for you to go ahead and subscribe. And click that bell button if you want to get notified when I put up the next video.